I was on an online summit about Kundalini rising and Kundalini awakening. And so he says, I listened to that interview yesterday, and he said, if we live our lives really in alignment with the truth of who we are, do we need to even worry about what the Kundalini is and is it awakening? No. You don't need to worry about anything. If a child is in the arms of the mother, does she need to worry about where they're going? Of course not. She knows mom's going to worry about it. I just have to hold on. If you're in the car with someone whom you totally trust to know the way to get wherever you're supposed to go, you can go to sleep in the back seat. You can listen to beautiful music. You can close your eyes. You can do whatever you need to do. The last thing you need to worry about is looking at street signs, paying attention to where you're going. Totally irrelevant. You know they're going to get me there. But if you're in the car with someone who doesn't know the way, or if you're driving it and you don't know the way, then yeah, you got to keep paying attention to your Google Maps. Because you don't want to get lost. And the dilemma with that, of course, is that there's no time or energy left to be listening to the music or closing your eyes or doing your japa or having a nap, because you got to figure out where to take a left turn, where to take a right turn. You don't want to miss it. And this is where, when all of the teachings of all of the different religious traditions emphasize faith in God, surrender to God, aligning yourself with God, thy will be done. Why? Well, A, it's a lot more effective because God's going to get what God wants anyway. If there's ever a battle of wills, what you want or what God wants, well, God's going to win anyway. So in any case, you're fighting a losing battle. But B, you end up wasting all of your time and energy and attention trying to figure out where to take the left turn, where to take the right turn, where to go straight, because you have no trust in the driver. You become one of those horribly annoying backseat drivers, right? Anybody ever been in the car with someone who's saying, it's up ahead? You're like, I know. I've been here 1,000 times. I know where we're going. Relax, shut up, read a book. It's okay, right? Think about how God must feel. Right? I mean, here we are in this incredibly perfect universe. The only thing that is not perfect about the universe is the ways that we are messing it up. We're cutting down trees. We're gobbling up the planet's resources. We're killing each other. Those are our mistakes. All of that which God created functions really beautifully. Everything happens just on time. Spring comes, blossoms come, new trees come, fruits there, the rain comes on time. Every morning the sun rises, the sun sets. God hasn't missed a day. Billions, hundreds of billions of years, not a day has God missed with that sunrise and every morning. And here we are saying, but I was supposed to get that, don't you know? I think about it sometimes. God must be like, yeah, I know. I know what's supposed to happen. In fact, I know what's supposed to happen so much better than you know what's supposed to happen. Because I can actually see the full picture. And so if you're figuring this out brick by brick, if this is all about you doing your spiritual path alone, it's up to you, it's all about you, you're gonna, all right, then yeah. Worry about Kundalini. Worry about all of the different breaths and energies of the body. Worry about how enlightened you're getting day by day, right? Last night we were talking about that. Like kids, on the wall have those rulers of how high they are. You go to the walls of parents with kids and you can see pencil marks on the walls as the kids grew. Yeah, sure, give yourself an enlightenment meter. And you'll drive yourself crazy. Because you'll listen to one summit and it'll talk about Kundalini and you'll figure, all right, I got to do that. And then you'll listen to another one and it'll tell you Tantra's the way to go. And then you'll go on that. And then another one will tell you Mantra's the way to go. And then you'll do my mantra. And then another one is going to say, it's all about awareness. It's just about witnessing. I'm going to go there. Then another. You'll bounce around. From worrying about this to worrying about that to it must be this, it must be that. You'll drive yourself batty. They're all beautiful paths. They're all wonderful teachings and techniques. But ultimately, wouldn't it be nice to just be able to go to sleep in the back seat and know that when you opened your eyes, you were going to be there? Because you trust the driver? And this is really what God is asking of us. It's just trust. And it's not quite so much as go to sleep in the back seat as we were talking about. We have to be active. But in terms of the mental craziness, right turn, left turn, gotta get this, gotta have that, must achieve this. I'm this age and I don't yet have this much in my bank account. This age, don't yet have this many kids, haven't yet reached this level. Their house is bigger than my house. Their cars are nicer than my cars. They've achieved so much more than I have. All these irrelevant markers, but that push us constantly. Go left here, go right here, follow this one, do what that one did. Drives you crazy. And you end up going like this. So if you make your goal simply putting one foot in front of the other, doing your Dharma, following God's will to the best of your ability, to the best of your awareness, to the best of the way that that voice speaks within you, let that be your goal. Knowing that where you're being carried is the right direction. And then, yeah, sure, sometimes you can turn your attention in meditation to Kundalini. Sometimes you can turn it somewhere else. Sometimes you can do a particular exercise for something specific, sometimes for something. Don't worry about it. You can decide, I'm going to do this path, that path. Choose whatever works. Whatever brings you closest to being anchored and grounded in your true self. Because all of these paths are all about awakening something within you. These are not paths about how to get the electricity that's flowing through the wall into my body. If I did that, I would electrocute and die right in front of you. Not something we're looking for. It's not about how to get something from outside. All of these paths are paths that take us to the highest part of who we are. So how do you want to go within? How do you want to access the energy of you, the joy of you, the glory of you, the divinity of you? Well, look at this. There's so many different options. They all work. And the simplest and easiest is just surrender. Just surrender into knowing the true self. And interestingly, that place is where the 3 different paths that Lord Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita come together. So he talks in the Gita about Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, Jnana Yoga, the path of wisdom, Karma Yoga, the path of action, right? And he speaks about them as separate paths, but ultimately we're given the truth that they're one. They're all ways of going into the truth of who you are, that highest truth which is God. And the minute you go in through any of those 3, the other 2 happen almost automatically. Go in through love. Think about just loving someone. You don't even have to think about loving God. Think about loving someone. So you love them and you love them, and the more you love them, the more you want to know about them, right? Those are the all-night sessions of, and what's your favorite color? And, what sport did you play in elementary school? And what was the street that you lived on growing up? And what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? It matters only because I love you. And because there's love, yeah, I do care what your favorite flavor of ice cream is. And I do care what your favorite color is. And I do care what your nickname was when you were a kid. And then, suddenly here I am, up early in the morning, making you breakfast in bed. So we've gone from bhakti to jnana to karma. Began with loving you, then suddenly I want to learn everything about you. Then here I am serving you. But it all stemmed from love. And you could go the other way. You could begin with learning about people. This is typically the way that marriages happen in India, arranged marriages. So you may not begin by going in with love. It's not that you've met and fallen in love. Somebody's put the marriage together. You begin, you're living together. You learn about each other more and more. You learn, you learn, you learn, you learn. As you learn, love starts to blossom. Slowly, slowly, from the jnana into the bhakti, from the wisdom into the love. And then, of course, from the love, again, here I am bringing you breakfast in bed. But we also know that it can begin through service. There's lots of stories of people who fall in love with their doctor, their nurse, their secretaries, their fitness coaches. Right? I mean, this is the stuff that all of our soap operas are made of. I serve you, I serve you, I serve you, I serve you, whether I'm serving you French fries or I'm listening to your heartbeat with my stethoscope or whatever I'm doing. Serving, serving, and the more I serve you, the more slowly I start to love you. The more I love you, the more I want to know about you. And here we are, back again. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? So it doesn't matter actually how you go in. But they're all taking us into our true self, because ultimately it's not about love of just a person, it's about love of God. Bhakti, Gyan, Karma of God. So we go in however we want. Raise your Kundalini, sure. Why not? Or just surrender to God, to that divinity within yourself with such full and complete abandon that the ecstasy of that, the grace of that, the wave of that washing through you, like when Ganga first came out of heaven and washed onto the earth and washed away everything in our sights. Boom, there you are. Kundalini's risen automatically. Can't help it. So yeah, if you can just surrender fully to that. But an active surrender, as we said, not a passive surrender. It's an active surrender. It's a surrender rooted in love and knowledge and service. That bhakti and gyan and karma. Then yeah, path will take care of itself. You don't have to worry about anything. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Simple question is when you talk about will. So how we decide which one is God will, which one is mine? Why we need to complicate it? It's just a will.
Well, so he says, why do we need to complicate it? If there's God's will and my will, can't we just say will? Why complicate it? So here's the dilemma. I cheat on my taxes, or I cheat on my husband or wife. What sparked me to do that? Greed, lust, ignorance, right? I mean, there's simple stuff. Was that God's will? So, God, what we've been told, let's go back to the authorities. What we've been told in our scriptures is that God's highest will for us, the reason that we've been given human birth, the reason that the whole oneness was created into two-ness in order to come back into oneness, was in order to give us the experience of two becoming one. In order to give us the experience of waking up consciously. Not because we have no choice, not because we just are God and there is no option, but because we have been created as a separate being, given free will, given this mind which in its illusion is going to identify as this body, and then given the possibility to override the ignorance, to override the darkness, to override the ego and the mind, and to actually come back from two into one. That's why we are here. That's why on a spiritual level, the human birth is considered the highest form of evolution. Because it's believed that we are the only species that have the ability to actually be conscious of our consciousness. Other species just do it. A dog just acts like a dog. A monkey just acts like a monkey. He's not watching his monkeyness. There I go, bouncing around again. I mean, they might, but as far as we know, they don't. Now, We do. Not necessarily, not automatically, but we have that ability. When we become quiet, when we become still, we have the ability to be aware of being aware. We have the ability to have an experience of total awareness of our consciousness. And when we do that, we have the ability to choose. Am I going to move through this world? Am I going to have this thought, this reaction, this words, this action from a place of love, of divinity, or from a place of separation? I have that choice. But we know which one is the right choice. Now I put right in those funny quotation marks because there is no objective right or wrong unless your highest goal is ultimately to break free of this cycle of birth and death. Unless your highest goal is to fulfill the purpose of your life, which, again, we've been told is to wake up, to realize the truth of who we are, to experience the truth of who we are. That's why we're here. And so by cheating on my taxes or cheating on a spouse or pushing people out of the way to get ahead and make a lot of money at work or whatever I may do from a place of greed, from a place of lust, from a place of separation is not in service of me attaining my highest goal of oneness and awakening, which is what God's will is. So that's how we know it's not God's will. So the only way for there to be only one will is if I say, okay, fine, I am done with my will. I have seen where that got me in life. Done. I am ready now to only live my life according to God's will. That's when you get only one will. The only other way that we get one will is when we live in such ignorance and such blindness and are so much drowning in our own ego that we cannot hear the voice of God's will. And then it seems like there's only one will because we can only hear one. But otherwise there's two. And this is where it's important for us to figure out, is what I'm doing in line with my will or God's will? And an easier way to think about it, for me at least, because it's hard, of course, in every moment to figure out what is God's will here. An easier way to think about it is this in alignment with my highest purpose in life? If my highest purpose is realizing the truth of who I am, not just in isolation. It's about I realize the truth of who I am so that I then am a vehicle, a vessel, a tool of service for the world, because God is in service. If you ever wonder what God wants from us, look at what God himself, herself, itself is doing, serving us. Look at the creation, look at nature. Look at how wherever you go, we're being served. Oh, you're hot? Here's a river to drink from. Here's a tree under whose shade you can sit. Oh, no problem, just wait a few hours, it'll be nightfall. It's amazing. Oh, you ate too much, your stomach hurts, no problem. Give it half an hour. I'll take care of that digestion thing. You'll feel better. Give it even a few more hours. It'll be like you never ate it. I mean, really, everywhere you look, look, what is God doing? Just serving us, just giving. Every day a new day. Every moment a new breath. You made a mistake with this breath. You lost your temper. You acted out of greed, out of lust, out of anger. No problem. Here's another breath. Try it again. Everywhere else in the world, nobody's prepared to give you that. You get a job, depending on how compassionate your boss may be, maybe you can mess up once, twice, maximum probably 3 times before you get kicked out and fired. Even in baseball, right? They'll throw you 3 strikes and then it's over. No, you don't get to keep swinging again. Sorry, pal, sit down. Your turn's up. But God, no problem. Have another breath. No problem. Have another day. Ah, you blew it again? Have another day. Blew it again? Have another day. So, when we align ourselves with that will, we realize, okay. Wake up. Realize who I am. Realize I'm not my body. Realize I'm soul, I'm spirit, I'm self, I'm consciousness, I'm love, I'm truth. And then be that tool, that instrument, that vehicle, that vessel in God's hands. To serve. And that's ultimately when it becomes from 2 wills into 1. It's very simple. If your goal is for there to be only 1 will, let your prayer every day, as you bow down at whatever image of the divine or no image of the divine or whatever or whoever you bow down to, when you bow down, literally picture yourself taking your internal will and offering it at God's feet. Okay, God, take my will. Okay, God, take my will. Okay, God, take my will. Let thy will be done. Slowly, slowly, slowly you'll find there's only 1 will. Because yours has been taken.